As usual, before we start the rebroadcast, sound check. Out to my moderators. What does the sound like to you? Do you hear me clearly? If you do, put a 1 in the chat box. If the music is not at its proper level, please put a 2 in the chat box. Shout out to Althea Marshall. Thank you for getting on the stream tonight. Long time no see. Glad to have you on the stream tonight. We're getting started in just a second, folks. I trust that everyone has had a fantastic evening. Shout out to Gail. Thank you for getting on the stream tonight. Shout out to Abdul, one of my faithful, and Gail. Althea also, my faithful participants in this stream. I always appreciate your participation. Thanks for getting on the stream tonight. I will be transparent tonight, folks. I am very tired tonight. I'm not gonna lie. I'm very tired. Had a very hard day today. I, like you, I go to work every day, you know. And okay, thank you, Gail. Give me a 1 if that's a good volume, or do I need to touch it just a little bit? And like you, very tired. I'm very tired, physically tired. What I do on my stream every day is mentally tired. I can get over the mental tiredness, although that gets to me also at times. But physical tiredness is a whole entirely different animal. So I'm physically tired, you know. But I'm passionate about what I do, and my efforts to get a narrative that has not caused communities, and has not caused our community in particular, to get the results that they look for. Black women in particular have not gotten the results that they desired, nor that they've wanted in terms of relationships and or marriage. So with that being said, I'm hard pressed to do what I do day in and day out, regardless of how I feel and regardless of how tired I am. And I will tell you, if I have to be completely transparent, I will say there are some nights that I am scheduled to do a stream, and I truly do not want to do it. I will be honest with you. I'm like you. I'm human. There are nights that I really don't want to do this. This is not how I go to work. I think I mentioned that in a previous stream. I go to work like every other hard-working average guy. And, you know, with steel-toe boots and a uniform and a hard hat and safety glasses. And, you know, if you saw me when I came home from work in the afternoons, I'm a stark contrast to what you see in my streams. So I do this after I come home. I get myself together. I get myself prepared. I take my necessary notes so that I can come before you and give you a quality stream with the same amount of energy and with the same amount of passion and the same amount of strength, irregardless of how I feel. Because my talking points are that important to me. Because, again, like I've said in every stream, I want to see the good results come to you, ladies. Because if the good results come to you, by default, the good results come to us. I know and understand, and so do so many understand, that where there are no decent women, there are no decent men. Because you represent the first teacher of everything that we see. And what I'm finding, and I'm pretty sure many of you, if you're honest with yourself, what you see is a direct reflection of academics gone wrong. You're looking at a personification of academics gone wrong when you look at our community as it relates to not just you yourself as a woman, but as it relates to the children that are produced from said women. You're looking at academics gone wrong. Where there are no decent women, you will not find any decent men. That will not change. So let's get into it. Again, shout out to everyone today that got on the stream tonight. I trust that everyone has had a fantastic, positive day, as irregardless of whether you had to go to work or not. As every stream, I always say that if you woke up this morning, you have a good day. That's a good day. Because every morning I wake up, I'm not naive to the fact that so many of us did not wake up, regardless of our nationality. So many people didn't wake up. There are some people planning funerals right now as we speak. So every day is a good day, right? No matter what we had to go through, no matter what we had to endure, we only could go through it, and we could only endure it if we were alive. So every day is a good day, and I trust that all of you that watch this stream now while it's being live streamed, or you catch it after it's live streamed, that you had a wonderful, fantastic, positive, grateful day. But we have a good topic to go into tonight. You see the title. The title is a title that most of us really don't pay attention to. You know, there's an old story. I think they meant for it to be funny. And they talked about the frog in the water. The frog in the fishbowl, I should say. And that if you put a bunch of frogs in a fishbowl, and you turn the heat up, and you put a fire underneath that fishbowl, but you turned it up in small increments, you at some point over time would get to a boiling point. Here's the saddest part about that scenario. Those frogs that were moving about freely when the water was cool, they never really came to realize that the heat in that fish tank was raising in temperature until it was too late. By the time they realized that they were being boiled alive, they died. And that's because the heat wasn't being turned up in quick successions. It was being turned up in small, minute, very undetectable increments. And then ultimately, those frogs were boiled alive. And you know what the outcome was. So what is the talking point tonight? The modern woman has become a cookie cutter version of her former self. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Again, shout out to all of you, again, that got on the stream. I want to see if I can catch everybody from the very beginning before we really go into it. Shout out to Khalid. Love you, man. Happy to see you on the stream, man. Shout out to, let me see who else I see here. Shout out to Sheila Johnson. Oh man, I missed you, sister. Thank you for getting on the stream tonight. I know you've been busy. And salute to you for all your accomplishments and what you're doing with your degree that you got in health and beauty aid. And I'm so proud of you. So proud of you. I'm watching you. You don't know I'm watching you, but I'm paying attention to you. Shout out to you, Sheila. Salute. Yo, keep grinding, my sister. Keep grinding. Let's see. Who else we see here on the screen tonight? Trying to get everybody. Let's see. Who I see? You know, Facebook has this funny thing of hiding you guys. If you don't know that. They do. I'm going to see if I can break through. see if I can break through the cheesecloth. Shout out to Dwayne Bowen. Shout out to you. And for any of you as all streams, I say, if I miss your name, charge it to my heart, and not charge it to my head, I should say, and not to my heart. I really do appreciate all of you that support my stream and support what I do and see the importance and the value of what I do. Getting outside of yourself and what talking points may personally affect you or in some cases offend you. I really appreciate you and I salute you if you can get beyond yourself to see that the talking points will help. No doubt, they will help someone who perhaps is going through many of the things that I discuss in my streams. So with that being said, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Again, as a recap, the talking point tonight, the subject tonight is the modern woman has become a cookie cutter version of her former self. I want to start off by talking about a particular article that I came across. The article was under an article entitled "The Truly Charming." Shout out to Crystal Jackson who wrote this article. I'm not going to shout too loud, but I will give her a half of a shout for this particular article because in my personal opinion, it's dangerous. I'm going to read a little bit of this article to you as I attempt to monologue in addition to some of her talking points. I want you to listen to this. This is the stuff, you know what, I want to say this first before I start. This is the kind of garbage. This is the kind of trash that's being promoted into the atmosphere and that's being promoted into the ears of many of you ladies. And whether you realize it or not from a conscious level, or whether you realize it or not from a subconscious level, it is affecting you and it is affecting us all over this country and even outside of this country. Wherever we reside, women in general, black women in particular, I want you to listen to me as I break and tear to pieces this particular article that this young lady wrote, and she wrote it August the 8th of 2022. Her name is Crystal Jackson. And Crystal Jackson, if you run across this particular stream, I want you to know that what you wrote is trash. I intend to piece it apart and flush it tonight. Let's get into it. The title, the article is entitled, "How to Be in Your Feminine Energy with a Man." Listen to the advice she's going to give you, ladies. In this article, and I'm reading it now, in this article we talk about how to be in your feminine energy with a man. Society's gender constructs would have you believe that men are strong, powerful, assertive, and rational, while women are nurturing, emotional, submissive, and graceful. It's no wonder that these outdated standards have given rise to gender fluid and non-binary gender identities. Listen to this garbage. Regular gender roles don't allow men to be soft or women to ever truly be strong. Let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. Listen to the narrative, ladies, that's being pumped into your brain. What did she start off by saying? She started off by saying that society's gender constructs would have you believe that men are strong, as if they should be something else other than that. It would have you believe that men should be powerful, as if they should be something other than that. They would have you believe that men should be assertive, as if they should be something other than that. And rational, while women are nurturing, emotional, submissive, and graceful, as if you should not be something other than that. Let's continue. And then she goes on to say this. Again, shout out to Crystal Jackson, pushing the garbage. It's no wonder that these outdated standards, and let me stop right there. This is the sick mindset of the modern woman, that to be nurturing, to be emotional, to be submissive, to be graceful, which are all the attributes of a wife. These are all the attributes of what a man is attracted to. But yet, here's what Crystal Jackson said in her illustrious article entitled "How to Be in Your Feminine Energy with a Man." One thing I can clearly ascertain from this article, that she doesn't have one. So let's continue. Here's what she goes on to say. It's no wonder that these outdated standards have given rise to gender fluid and non-binary gender identities. Follow me. She goes on to say, regular gender roles don't allow men to be soft or women to ever truly be strong. Let's stop right there. What is this society trying to do to men in their masculinity? That if a man is truly male masculine, he's been titled as toxic masculinity, meaning you want him to do what? You want him to be emasculated. So you want a feminine man. You want a soft man. Is that what you want? While you then, in turn, take his position as what? Strong. You notice that she started off the article downplaying the whole idea of a man being strong, a man being powerful, a man being assertive. And then goes on to break down that regular gender roles don't allow men to be soft or women to ever truly be strong. Well, I'll tell you something, ladies. For those of you that hear this stream now or later, men are not attracted to you in what you consider to be strong. No, not at all. Because see, here's what the modern woman describes as strong. What she describes as strong is what she's accomplished. Whether she calls herself an entrepreneur, or whether she calls herself some career-minded individual with a high salary, or whether she considers herself strong based on what she's acquired financially, like her car or her home. These are the things, and I do accentuate the term things. Things that have no substance. We're talking about materialistic things, intellectual things, all of which do not lend credit to what she first described and downplayed as if it was not important to a woman. What were those things that she downplayed? Nurturing, emotional, submissive, that word that it's like kryptonite to the modern woman, graceful. These are the terms, these are the attributes that she downplayed. Yet she goes on to say that regular gender roles don't allow men to be soft or women to ever truly be strong. Then she tried to soften the narrative with the next statement. While I love being a woman, she says, hormones, menstrual cycles aside, I've sometimes found it difficult to stay in my power in relationships. What damn power are you referring to, Crystal? Miss Crystal Jackson, what power exactly are you referring to? Because I will tell you, any woman seeking to have power in her relationship, she's already disqualified herself from wife material. A man is not looking for a powerful woman. A man is looking for a feminine woman. I want to wake you sisters up. I really want to smack sense into you sisters who think that this modern perspective, this modern narrative is what's going to get you the outcomes that you say you want. I hate to disappoint you. In fact, I'll take that back. No, I do not hate to disappoint you. I want to disappoint you so that you will snap out of the delusion of this modern thought process. Look at how she tries to validate foolishness. Follow me. While I love being a woman, she says again, hormones, menstrual cycles aside, I've sometimes found it difficult to stay in my power in relationships. Meaning power over who? Power over what? Oh, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about what you said up forward into the commentary, where you said regular gender roles don't allow men to be soft or women to ever truly be strong. We know, I know. You're talking about a beta male, a soft, timid man that'll allow you to walk over him. You don't want nobody to lead in that relationship outside of yourself. Let's continue. She goes on to say this. In one relationship, I always had to lead. And the emotional labor I was expending to keep the relationship and our lives together was exhausting me. I felt like I had another child, not a full partner. Let's stop there, Crystal. Let's stop right there, Crystal Jackson, with your ridiculous article. What are you saying here? If you had the audacity to write an article like this, Crystal, it's funny to me how you became so transparent in this particular paragraph, where you said, in one relationship, I always had to lead, and the emotional labor I was expending to keep the relationship and our lives together was exhausting. I felt like I had another child, not a full partner. Guess what, Crystal? Like I've said, in every stream, so many streams, well over 50 streams, I've said this. We do not get what we want, we get who we are. Who exactly are you, Crystal? Who exactly are you? You know, I will tell you this. In your fast typing, you almost told on yourself in that particular paragraph. Let's continue. She goes on to say this. In another relationship, an emotionally abusive past partner kept pushing me toward a submission I certainly didn't feel. Woo! Now let's stop right there. Now we know the root of the buffoonery. Thank you, Crystal, for giving us a cheat code. Ladies, I hope you're listening. I hope you're listening, because this is the narrative that's being painted for you. And this is why this thought process is causing many of you to fail and to lose your men and to ultimately die alone. Listen, listen, listen. Don't get triggered. Listen. This is what she says. In another relationship, an emotionally abusive past partner kept pushing me towards a submission I certainly didn't feel. Isn't it ironic? I find it very interesting that the modern woman sees the whole concept and idea of submitting to a man to be emotionally abusive. Oh, man. My God, man. This modern narrative is setting you ladies up. Oh, it's setting you up so badly. And it's boxing you into a cage that you don't even realize they've locked and they've taken the key away from you to where you can't even get yourself out of it. When you happen to decide that you are in a box, by the time you find out, women in general, black women in particular, by the time you realize that you've been boxed into a cage, locked from the outside, and the key has been taken to where you are now trapped in a mindset and in a narrative that you can't even get yourself out of. You're already 35. You're already 45. You're already 50. And the only alternative that you have at that point is to do what you call dating. Let me explain to some of you ladies what dating means in 2022. Because it didn't mean the same thing in 1965, and it didn't mean the same thing in the 70s. No. I'm going to tell you what dating means today. When you hear a female say, I'm dating, what she's basically telling you is that she's having sex. Because the real meaning for dating, the real meaning of what dating was, in its purest form, it was really a courtship for a man to vet a woman to see if, in fact, she was wife material. That's what dating was. What is dating today? Dating today is a precursor to sex. Because when a man dates you and he spends money at a restaurant for you, and that bill comes up to be 50 or 60 or 75 or more, for those of you that have the income, if he takes you to Ruth Chris, or if he takes you to Papa Do's, you're talking about a $250 to $300 bill and up for two people. Do you really believe he was that hungry? Ladies, I want you to listen. Do you really believe that he was that hungry? No. A man can satisfy his hunger with a Happy Meal. He can satisfy his hunger by going to Church's Chicken, Popeyes. A man, yeah. So why would he invest that kind of money with you today in what you glorify in telling people, in bragging about that I'm dating? Dating today is a joke. But the joke's on who? Ladies, the joke's on you. Because dating doesn't mean that they want to keep you. Dating means they want to sleep with you. And I just outlined the narrative that's being painted for so many of you modern ladies. The modern woman has become a cookie cutter version of her former self. Today, there's no more wives. There's no more wives. You know, one thing about a cookie cutter, it can press down on the dough. It can create whatever shape of the cookie cutter. But you can do that with cement, with the same cookie cutter. You can do that with tar, the same cookie cutter. You can do that with so many things, and it won't turn out to be what you expected. The modern woman has become a cookie cutter version of her former self. So let's continue in reading what Miss Crystal Jackson had to say, because she's setting the stage for women. And many articles like this from many other modern women who write this kind of trash. Let's continue. She goes on to say this: his attempts to break me down faltered and failed as I recovered my strength and severed the relationship. In a healthier relationship, I was able to find more balance and be more myself than I've ever been before. I didn't have to give up my identity or surrender qualities about myself that I like. Watch, here's the definitive term. Here's the definitive statement in that paragraph. I didn't have to surrender qualities about myself that I like. Meaning, she didn't give a damn what he liked. Herein lies the problem, ladies. You've heard me say in many streams, you will get the outcomes that you want, but you will only get them when you find out what the men you say you want. Otherwise, you will continue, and I mean you will continue to lose. It's clear and it's evident that women in general, black women in particular, you are losing your men. Why are you losing your men? Because you believe that what you want and what you like is irrelevant to what the men want and what the men like or what the men find attractive. So you think you can show up any old kind of way. Just show up. If you have a job or a career that requires you to be in business attire, do you show up in jeans? No. You show up the way that employer expects you to show up. Right? If you're going out for a modeling call, a casting call for modeling, you know that if you're fit to apply for that particular role, you know it. And if you're within range and you know you need to lose a few pounds just to qualify for the casting call, what do? You make the necessary adjustments. You put into place the necessary diet that's necessary for you to qualify, right? But it's funny today that the modern woman, women in general, black women in particular, believe that they can show up for the casting call of what's described as the men that they say they want, and no requirements are expected. Strange, but true. She said a healthier relationship. See, in her sick, diluted delusion, she considered that a healthier relationship. Hey, go figure. She said in a healthier relationship, I was able to find more balance and be more myself than I've ever been before. I didn't have to give up my identity or surrender qualities about myself that I like. Good luck with that, Crystal. Good luck with that. I just had the opportunity to be myself. She goes on to say all healthy relationships are balanced. Balanced on whose scale? The modern woman, and the way the modern woman thinks today, is very unbalanced, no doubt. So what scale is she referring to? A healthy relationships, all healthy relationships, she says, are balanced. Balanced by who? Who's going to determine what's a balanced scale for the modern woman? Unless you ask the men that you say you want. I can say the ones you dream about, the ones you imagine. Some that exist, some that have never existed, and many of whom you don't qualify for. So what scale exactly are you referring to? She goes on to say this too. While some see that as a masculine, feminine structure, others find their balance in the distribution of household and relational tasks, in their strengths and challenges, or even the division of space and time together. Energy, she says, that doesn't attract and complement will likely end and repel. Really? That's probably the only thing she said so far that makes any sense to me at all. And I will give you 1 point, Crystal, for being true with that statement. Energy that doesn't attract and complement will likely, in the end, repel. I'm glad you added that as a caveat in this garbage of an article posted August the 8th, 2022. Let me continue. I hope you're listening to this, and I hope you get the opportunity to hear this, Crystal. But you really hit it on the head. You hit the nail on the head with that statement right there. Energy that doesn't attract and complement will likely, in the end, repel. Let's go there. Let's talk about that. What energy am I referring to? If that energy doesn't attract and it doesn't complement, and likely it will in the end repel. Let's go into the description of the stream tonight. Let me just read this to you. It says, the modern woman today has all the physical attributes of being a woman, but lack the attributes and femininity, and replaced it with masculinity. She's abandoned true sex appeal. Instead, she's replaced it with long eyelashes, BBL'S, liposuction, weaves, long nails, tummy tucks, body shapers, contact lenses, excessive makeup, and the dress code. And you know I'm right about the dress code, ladies. The dress code leaves no room for a man's imagination, and yet, this is what many of you are told attracts a man. Today's modern woman has become a walking, talking lie. What's underneath this new costume? And does it reflect the respectable women of old? Ladies, I know you avoid streams like this, but let me tell you something. Avoiding them, whether it comes from myself or someone else, will not change the outcomes that are pervasive on a national level and on an international level. It will not change the outcomes for women. And it will not change the outcomes for black women in particular, simply by closing your ears. The outcomes will remain. Let's continue and see what else Crystal has to say. She goes on to say, to stay in your feminine energy, you'll need to look out for energy vampires. They're the people we meet who simply take up all the space, time, and attention in our lives. They drain us of our power and leave us feeling exhausted after we spend time with them. And that's how our energy easily shifts into a negative and unpleasant one. Let's stop right there. I'm glad she said that. It confirms everything I've said in every stream. as it relates to us getting not what we want, but who we are. She goes on to say, there's people we meet who simply take up all the space and time and attention in our lives. First of all, why are you around them? Obviously, you're attracted to them. They drain us of our power, and they leave us feeling exhausted after we spend time with them. Really? How exhausted? And that's how our energy easily shifts into a negative and unpleasant one. This is a classical example of non-accountability. So in other words, it's not her fault. It's someone else's fault. Right. Let's continue. Energy vampires can attract us in the beginning. Really? Why are they attracting you, Crystal? They're attracting you because A alike, B alike. We attract only what we are, not what we want. Let's continue. She says energy vampires can attract us in the beginning with their endless charm, but they take from us without ever giving anything in return. There is no balance with an energy vampire, she goes on to say. They'll steal time and energy from your self-care and from your other relationships in order to meet their own needs. All right, that's enough of Crystal. I think I had enough of Crystal. Because I'll tell you folks, one thing I am completely and totally tired and sick of is this kind of stupid narrative that has gotten our community in such a bad state. Such a bad state. Hasn't served us at all. And ladies, you know it has not served you. You know it hasn't served you. It has not at all. Has not served you at all, ladies. Pardon me 1 second, family. Give me 1 second. Thank you for hanging with me tonight. Thank you, folks. You know, one thing, as I was saying, that annoys me more than anything, as it relates to the subjects and issues and topics that I talk about, is the level of participation that takes place not just on a local level, state level, but on a national level and on an international level. Now, I'm a black man, so obviously my focus concern is on black women. I want to personally see women in general, black women in particular, get better outcomes. But I want to ask you something, ladies. How do you ever expect to get the outcomes that you say you want as it relates to relationships and or marriage if you're sold and you refuse to break from the matrix of the narrative that's been painted for you? You've heard me say, many of you that have followed me in other streams, you've heard me say on more than one occasion that this whole narrative was designed to make money off of you and your ignorance. It was designed to capitalize financially off of you and your ignorance. as it relates to the importance of family and marriage. Why? Because if you knew the system of capitalism, you'd understand that women spend 80%, make up 80% of the spending power in this country. And that goes across the board. 80%. Not men. Ladies, you're the ones buying nails. Ladies, you're the one buying hair. You're the ones buying BBL'S. You're the ones spending money on liposuctions. You're the ones spending money on tummy tucks. You're the ones spending money on body shapers. You're the ones spending excessive amounts of money on makeup. You're the ones spending money that fuels the economy in a much larger way than any man will ever spend. Men don't spend money like women. Do you not understand how expedient it is to market an idea that keeps you believing that you are okay by yourself? Why? Because a marriage and or committed relationship, it monitors the spending power. Why? Because in a committed relationship and or marriage, you won't spend like that. They know this. I'm trying to wake you sisters, you ladies up. They will not spend like this if they're in a structured relationship. I know you can't do it. You can't do it. From a man's perspective, a man cannot spend the way he would spend if he's married as opposed to if he's single. Lady, you know that. You know that. And you also know that you as a single woman have more leverage if you have money to spend more than if you were in a relationship. Am I right or wrong? I mean, you ladies want the truth. That's what you say. That's what you say. You say you want the truth. One thing that most women say in the beginning of every relationship, you say, when you're talking to the man that you're interested in, this is what you say: I don't care what you do, just don't lie to me. Not this modern woman. She means that on one condition. You know what don't lie to me today means to the modern woman? It means don't lie to me about you having an extracurricular affair. Don't lie to me about the girl that you might be talking to on the side. If you're married, don't lie to me as it relates to you being interested in someone else outside of our marriage. That's what doesn't lie to me mean. But I want to ask you ladies a question. Is that all you mean when you say don't lie to me? Or is it possible that you can be told the truth about things that you've been made to believe was the truth, when you know that same narrative has gotten you bad outcomes? Is it possible that a man could say it to you and you actually accept it for what it's worth? Is that even possible? Is that even possible? Because no matter how much you ladies attempt to pretend as if where you are as a single woman without relationship, how happy you are, how excited you are, how you're living your best life. How is your best life described? With you being alone and dating. And I've already described what dating means. How is you being alone and dating describing you as living your best life? How is that? Because I'll tell you, when I go about, I don't see a lot of black women in particular. None of who I run across look happy in this proposed best life. I don't see it. I can't see it. They're not smiling. You can barely get a smile. If you say hi, how you doing, good afternoon or good morning, you get a look like as if you just cursed out their mother or something. You don't get a pleasant response. I don't see a whole lot of living my best life women walking around. No. And if holidays are spent by yourself, you know, we got Thanksgiving coming up. Will you be able to sit at your dining room table with your husband? With your long-term relationship? A man that can look you back in the eyes and y'all can say prayer over food and thank God for what's on your table? Will you find yourself at Christmas buying yourself a gift? How many birthdays have you bought yourself a birthday gift? How many Valentine's days have you bought yourself a Valentine's Day gift? Or you linked up with some of your girlfriends who were also single and decided, you know, let's treat ourselves. Let's go on a cruise, or let's go out to the beach, or if it was summertime, or let's do something together. And then you find yourself in the company of a group of other women who are also suffering from the same thing you claim that you're happy about. You know, living my best life. Absent of a man in your life who's seriously vetting you for marriage. This is why articles like I read tonight, it angers me. It angers me. Because this is the same poisonous, destructive garbage that have so many women, and black women in particular, riding the carousel, thinking that from one stop to the next, they're going to get the outcomes that they want. And at the ripe old age of 35 and close to 40, when they realize they have been lied to, they try to catch the last train coming. Many of whom find out that the last train has come and gone. Very sad. Very, very sad. Ladies, if you can break out of this modern stupidity, and if you can again silence the noise in your ear, that society and media is spending millions, if not billions of dollars to promote and to indoctrinate your brain through movies, through movie series, through the internet. If you can break past that, those cobwebs of false narratives that's basically making up your whole mindset, to where when you hear talking points like this, instead of you listening to understand, you listen to respond mentally, emotionally, in what we notice as called triggering. You find yourself triggered by the content because you've already responded mentally, emotionally, and you've already turned your ears off to the content. But you won't turn your ears off to the bull that you're listening to as it relates to individuals like this young lady, Crystal Jackson, who wrote this garbage and titled it How, as if she's given a roadmap and a manual to how to be feminine, how to be in your feminine energy with a man. Really? Who's she talking about? Pookie? Nug Nug? Trigger? Murder Mike? Who's she talking about? She ain't talking about no real man. Because a real man only wants a few things: fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, easy to get along with, good experience, a pleasure to be around. She represents energy in her presence, positive energy in her presence. He feels he can do anything in her presence. And he's made to believe he can do anything in her presence. That's not what Miss Crystal is talking about now. She's talking about this modern mentality that has gotten women, and black women in particular, bad outcomes. Without question. Without question. The facts, the data, and the statistics do not lie. 1 in 4 will marry amongst black women in this country in a lifetime, which means 8 out of 10 will die alone. Why is this real? Why is these facts? Why is this data? And why is these statistics real? It's because of garbage like I just read. It's because of this narrative that to be feminine, that to be fit, that to be friendly, that to be cooperative, that to be non-combative, that to be a good experience for a man is somehow old, outdated standards. Old, outdated standards. It's not important anymore. After all, this is modern day time. Those women that were like that, they were stupid, right? Those women that were like that at a 61 to 62% marriage rate, those women were fools. Those women were dumb, uneducated, ignorant, right? Those women didn't have the sense God gave them, right? Nah, I beg to differ. Like I've said in so many strains, they were just made of better stuff. They were not subject to the poison and the narrative that so many of women today, black women in particular, that you've allowed yourself. And the poison tastes so sweet that now the taste is in your mouth and you don't even realize that you've been poisoned. They simply didn't have, they simply were not subjected to the same things that the modern woman is subjected to in terms of the narrative being painted as it relates to long-term relationships and or marriage. The modern woman today has become a cookie cutter version of her former self. And the biggest question of all, is it too late for women? And is it too late for black women in particular? What's the solution? Break away. If you're capable, break away from the modern narrative. You want to be able to brag about being your own person. You want to brag about having your own mind. You want to brag about being able to make your own decisions. what I would say to you, sisters, prove it. Prove it. Prove it by breaking away from the modern women's narrative that makes many of you believe that you don't need a man and that you can come to the table to any man you desire, regardless of his status. You can come to him however you choose. Break away from that. That's a delusion. Men only want a few things. Find out what they want. That is what will ensure you the success in keeping the man you have, and that is what will ensure you of getting the man you say you want. But you have to choose. You have to pick. It's a non-negotiable. You have to choose, and you have to pick. Otherwise, don't get upset when you find black men getting passports to go overseas to find the attributes of what I described as it relates to what men want. Don't get upset, ladies. Don't get upset if Becky and Marisol and Jasmine, don't get upset if you find yourself losing your men to these women. Don't get upset. You know, today, in modern times, you know, with this modern age, society has so poisoned women, and so poisoned black women in particular. They've given you options. Options that naturally did not exist. Now, I'm going to touch this one. I'm going to just scratch the surface of this next statement before I close. Today, the options that the modern woman has been given, as opposed to simply wife material, to simply being fit and feminine and friendly and easy to get along with, the options that this society has given women and black women in particular today, as it relates to long-term relationships and or marriage, is this. Wait for it. They've given you this option that you can now lean to yourself. You fill in the blanks. You can lean to yourself. You can't get a man. You don't care what a man wants. You're not asking what a man wants. You've made so many bad decisions by simply not wanting to be fit, feminine, friendly, cooperative, easy to get along with, and a good experience. You know what? The hell with men. Lean to yourselves. You fill in the blanks. That's what this society is turning into. They're substituting the men that you can't get because of your inability to ask men what they want. Something as simple as that. And being concerned about what they want. And then working and doing the work to get to a place where you qualify as a wife. Instead, take the easy route, you know, like liposuction. Take the easy route, like tummy tucks. Take the easy route, like body shapers. Take the easy route. And just simply lean on your own sex. Well, I will tell you this, and you get no judgment from me. There's a lot of that going on these days. Choose your weapon. But I will say this to you. You will need to do that. Either romantically or platonically. You will have to do that. If, in fact, you make a conscious decision to not care about what it is that you have now morphed into in this modern age. You're no longer like the women of old who died with their husbands. No, you're not that woman today. Not at all. Not even a close facsimile. What is the same is your anatomy. What is the same is what you look like on the outside in some respects. It's not hard to identify, and I gotta even be careful there, because it is hard to identify male from female today. But for those of you that are truly female, it's not hard to detect that you are in fact a female. Outside of that, what's the same of the women of old, the respected women of old who valued long-term relationships and or marriage? What's the same? What is the same is the question I would ask you. Ask yourself, if you watch the stream, who is looking to marry me? More importantly, ask yourself this next question. Would I marry myself? Or would I even be interested in a long-term relationship with myself? What am I having to offer to a man if in fact I find myself in relationship? What am I bringing to the table other than a pretty smile? What am I bringing to the table other than body wash? What am I bringing to the table other than a hairdo or nails or perhaps good sex? And in many cases, not so good. But what am I bringing to the table? Other than that, that's going to get that man to make a definitive decision about keeping me as opposed to just sleeping with me. The modern woman today has become a cookie cutter version of her former self. Lady and ladies, have you become a cookie cutter version? If so, do you want to change that? And how much work are you willing to put in to create the version of yourself that the men you say you want? Or are you satisfied with the baker that made you through media, through internet, through television, through propaganda? Are you satisfied with the baker that cookie cut you? Again, the modern woman has begun the cookie cutter version of herself, of her former self. And with that, she is unqualified for long-term relationships. That being said, I thank all of you who got on the stream tonight. And I hope what you heard, some of what you heard, or all of what you heard was valuable to you. Thank you for all of you that got on the stream, and thank you for those of you that chose to jump off. I thank you too. With that being said, I am your host, Charles Chambliss. It's another broadcast, another show of Let's Talk About It. And again, with that being said, have a fantastic and positive night, what's left, and have a positive and absolutely productive day tomorrow. We are out.